Hi guys, and welcome to an Ace Tanker in the T20, the Tier 7 American medium tank. And the T20 is a tank I play very rarely. In fact, I don't know what prompted me to play it in this particular game. It was a game played on stream, so I do apologize if you've seen this game before. But the T20 is, it's an okay tank. I mean, it's a pretty decent all-rounder. I like the tank, but I never thought I'd like it enough to keep it. But yet, every time I get into the T20, I seem to have a decent game. And it kills me because I've got a 2-skill crew. They're moving on to the 3rd skill soon in the T20, and every time I get a new American tank, I'm thinking about stripping the crew from the T20 to put them into the new tank. And then I end up playing the T20, and I end up having a decent game, and basically the crew end up staying in it. It's an all-rounder. The armor isn't particularly good, but it's okay. The gun isn't particularly good, but it's okay. The maneuverability and speed of the tank are actually quite good. It's a good precursor to the Pershing. I think the Pershing at Tier 8 is a very good all-round medium tank, and I think the T20 is a decent all-rounder at Tier 7. I just don't play it very often. But this game was interesting for a few reasons. One is I'm not top tier. I'm a Tier 7 and a Tier 8 game. A lot of very good Tier 8 tanks on the enemy team. There are also a lot of very good players on the enemy team. They have 2 platoons. They have a Type 59 platoon along with a KV-5, and they have 2 very good players in a T-34, T-69, and they're platooned with an AMX M445. So on paper, my team aren't looking very strong, and the enemy team are looking very strong, and even then, looking at the enemy team, I mean, they've got 2 Type 59s, we've got 2 Super Pershings. Even the lineup for the tanks is not looking in our favor. However, the T20 is a tank that never seems to let me down, and this game is no different. During this game, I also make a huge mistake, and I'm very lucky to get away with it. But sometimes in World of Tanks you need to get a little bit of luck. But anyway, T20, yeah, it's a very solid tank. Now normally in a medium tank I'd go south, but because there are a lot of very strong players in strong heavy tanks on the enemy team, I'm going north. Because I figure I've got to do some work over there to stop them from coming into town. And I'm moving up to a standard medium tank or light tank position here. It's a very strong position. And the KV-5 and T-34 are indeed moving into town. Now, the T-20, the biggest issue I have with the T-20 is actually the reload time on the gun. It's just under 8 seconds, and basically it's the same gun as the Hellcat gets. So the penetration is 160 millimeters of pen, 240 alpha damage, which is okay if you're shooting the sides and rear of enemy tanks, but remember the T-20 sees Tier 9s. So the gun on paper is not fantastic, but the reload means its DPM is actually quite low. But I'm focused on this T-34. He's the best player on the enemy team. Managed to sneak a shot into the Comet as well. Now, for example, a Comet on paper should be able to tear a T-20 apart. So it's not the strongest of the Tier 7 mediums, but it's a decent all-rounder. Now, while I was trying to focus on the T-34 in town because he's the most dangerous player on the enemy team, unfortunately his platoon mate has come over to counter me in the village.
Enemy armor is damaged.
So this AMX M445 is going to be trying to sneak shots in, and I really need to take care of him before I can focus on the tanks in town. So I keep getting spotted. It's very difficult for me to do anything from this position. And you can see we sent a lot of tanks south. So I've really got to hold this position, do as much as I can here. But our team really have taken up a lot of very unusual positions. You can see we've got a Tiger and an IS in the south. who are on the wrong side of the railway tracks. We've got a Ferdinand and an ISU 152 camping in the swamp. I exchange shots with the AMX. Comet isn't done with me. So I'm being focused by the tanks in town. And we do get a shot into the AMX M445. We track him for no damage, unfortunately. Now, I don't know what the reload is, but it seems as if my reload is a split second faster than his, so I track him again. And again, we get a second shot in, but I know he held his shot, so he's reloaded now. But I really can't focus on town as long as this guy is sitting here. So just trying to get shots. We only have a Carnarvon and a WZ in town. And our team are continuing to move south. Pretty poor play by the AMX M445. I track him again, he gets stuck. Or maybe I didn't track him, but he gets stuck on a corner. And there we go. There's my nemesis taken out, which means I can focus on the tanks in town again. The KV-5 has just gone down. I know there's a KV-2, a Comet, and a T-34 up here. And this is where I make my mistake. I make a big mistake here. I decide to advance, and the T-34 is on more health than I thought he was. And that means I'm exposed to the Super Pershing, and then a Comet appears and he's in the middle of the street. So now I've made a huge mistake here. KV-2 is lining up for a shot. And thankfully, my tracks eat the shot. He only does critical damage. He's firing AP for some reason, and the T-34 gets a big shot in. So that was a huge mistake. I thought I could be aggressive. I thought that the WZ-111 would push up once he'd killed the KV-5. But I was lucky. I got away with it, and now I'm running. We take out the Comet, and you can see the T-34 is chasing me down. T-34 is coming for me. So I'm just waiting for the T-34 to actually fire, but he's not firing. He's still focused on me. So I was really lucky to get out of that position. That was a big mistake by me. I thought I could be aggressive, and it just didn't work out. I lost all my health as a result. So, at least I know I've got the WZ backing me up. T-34 is coming for me again, and I've got to be careful because there's a KV-2. And I take the risk. So again, very lucky the KV-2 didn't put anything into me. The WZ goes to work on the T-34, and that means I can get one shot in. Trying to save the WZ. He's on low health. He fails to kill the T-34. Need to kill the WZ, and I fail, but I do end up taking out the T-34. So I'm on 3 kills. I'm on 2.7k, 2.8k damage. And got very lucky. Our WZ is saying team no support, and to be honest he's right, because our KV-85, they basically just sat and sniped from D1 for pretty much the whole game. So KV-2 gets taken out, just a Super Pershing here. He's on full health. I'm a one-hit kill, but our team have won the south. Our Ferdy is moving through the swamp for some reason. I want to kind of split up and try and take this guy from both sides. If one of us goes one way, the other guy goes the other way. And for some reason the Super Pershing's running from me. Runs straight into the Jagdpanther, gets hit by RT. Not much of a shot, but we're able to take him out for kill number 4. And this was a really good result. A lot of strong tanks on the enemy team, a lot of strong players on the enemy team. I'd say our win chances for this game were very low. But T20, yeah, I may have not played it perfectly, made a big mistake and attacked when I shouldn't have. But It's just a really, really solid tank. It's got maneuverability, it's got speed, and even though I don't like the DPM and the reload on the gun, it is a very good gun. Good gun on the Hellcat at tier 6, and it's a good gun on the T20 at tier 7. And this is pretty much why every time I think about selling the T20 and every time I think about stripping the crew from the T20, I end up keeping it. I don't play it often, but I usually end up having decent games, although admittedly I probably got quite lucky there. We finished top on XP with 1301. 2,900, almost 3k damage in a tier 7 and a tier 8 game with a lot of very strong tanks, a lot of very good players on the enemy team. 16 shots fired, 15 hits and 14 penetrations, so even though it only has 160mm of penetration, when you get side shots, when you get rear shots, the penetration on the gun is just fine. So I was happy with the damage. I received 5 hits and managed to actually bounce 2. I was quite lucky, my shots ate the KB2 shot, otherwise I'd be dead. 1 spotted, 4 damage, 4 destroyed, and almost 800 assistance damage, and I earned 38,500 credits with a premium account. 1951 XP on a first game of the day. Again, I don't play this tank very often, so that was probably my first game in 4 or 5 months in the T20, but it was at ×2 and it left us just short of 4k damage. So the T20 is a pretty solid tank. It's not perfect, but it's a decent all-rounder, and I think maybe if you haven't played the T20 yet, if you get a T20 and you enjoy playing it, I think you're going to absolutely love the Pershing. I do think in hindsight the Pershing is a much better tank at tier 8. I think it's a much better all-rounder, and as a result, maybe if I was doing things differently second time round, I probably would have sold the T20 and moved the crew into the Pershing. But as is, I'm not disappointed I decided to keep it. As I say, it's a solid tank, it's a decent all-rounder, and I think if you play the T20 well, you're going to love the Pershing. But yeah, that was just another rare outing in a tank I don't play very often, and as I say, the game was played on stream, so I do apologize if you've seen it before, and it wasn't perfect gameplay by me. I made a huge mistake, got very lucky to get away with it with my life, but at least the speed and maneuverability of the tank allowed me to survive and end up having a decent game. So as always, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.